Hey guys, Sean here. Today, Luke and I will be talking about the cards that you should buy from the new Phantom Nightmare set. So Phantom Nightmare is going to shake up the meta with some of the new cards, also has some returning favourites, so let's see what you should consider buying from Phantom Nightmare. If you're a competitive player, there's some good fire stuff here. Snake Eyes Popular and Promethean Princess are going to be game-defining cards. There's just no avoiding it. They are expensive. If you're going to go for one of them, Promethean Princess is a good call because you only need one copy of Promethean Princess, while you will need 2 or 3 copies of Snake Eye Popular. But they're both very strong cards. They will be meta defining, so these are the best cards of the set.
Snake Eyes Popular really completes the Snake Eyes engine in terms of your Fire King and even just Snake Eyes Diabell Star decks. Popular is very powerful because when it's added to your hand, you can just special summon it out, which is really good for your link plays, or even if it's going hand in hand with Ash, it's able to bring out your big Snake Eyes Dragon guy. However, what makes Popular so good is because it goes really hand in hand in the fact that it's a pyro, so you're able to put it with your bonfire that most of you probably got in your previous Maze set. Popular is able to bring itself out off of Snake Eyes Ash and also off of Bonfire itself, so this is going to be an essential card to be running in the top tier deck. Definitely worth the investment if you're going to be playing Fire. However, if you are more of a player that likes to play multiple different decks, maybe don't play Popular because it will just be good on this one deck.
Next up, we have some new archetypes in this set. We have Voiceless Voice, Ashind, and Goblins. So Voiceless Voice has been a very popular meta deck in the OCG. Coming to the TCG, it's looking to be a very strong deck. It is looking to be a very pricey deck as well. Their starter is looking to be around €50 per copy. It's going to be a difficult deck to pick up as a budget player, but it will definitely pay off for competitive players because this deck is looking to be very strong, and it's one of the very few ritual decks that can play through Droll, and Droll is going to be very popular in this format. So I think Voiceless Voice is definitely a very safe pickup coming into the new format.
Another thing I will mention that you want to be investing in Voiceless Voice now is because a lot of the other cards that aren't necessarily engine will be getting reprinted again in Rarity Collection 2. Rarity Collection 2 will be reprinting Pre-Preparation of Rites and also be reprinting that Ritual Dragon. The only thing about Voiceless Voice is that it will be very expensive considering that their main engine is going to be ridiculously expensive. You need 3 copies of the level 1 girl, that's going to be about €52 each, and also the level 8 fairy, that's probably looking to be about €8 each. If you're going to be picking up any of these, probably do it now as soon as you can, just because this is definitely going to be a tier 1 deck going forward in the next couple of months.
Next up we have Ashind, a TCG exclusive archetype. This is the first wave of support. It's looking to be a decent deck. Vados on its own is looking like it has staple potential because it's a quick effect, pop your opponent's field spells, and field spells have been very good in Yu-Gi-Oh! They usually are like combo starters where you search a card, and Vados just pops it as a quick effect from your hand. So it's very good. The deck itself is going to be fairly expensive, and right now it's not looking to be anything insane. However, as a TCG exclusive archetype, it will have new waves of support down the line. How good they will be is up for debate, but right now you're looking at like a decent deck. Maybe a bit pricey, but there is a lot of potential here, and even Vados on his own is not a bad investment. Next up we have Goblins, so part of the Diabell Star lore. The Goblins come in, they're an Xyz deck, they're kind of gimmicky, they're not looking insane, they have like some stuff they can do. As an Xyz deck, obviously they have access to stuff like Zeus, but as a kind of a budget fun deck, it seems like not a bad pickup, but there is more support to come, so I do think that they could become alright, you know? It might be time to go Goblin mode eventually. Now for decks that got new support, we have Yubel.
Definitely invest in Yubel now. Yubel is going to be a fan favorite deck that's probably going to see a few more legacy support in the upcoming years probably. But what makes Yubel really good right now is the fact that all the cards are really cheap. The only expensive cards that you're going to be running into are the really old Yubel cards, Terror Incarnate and Ultimate Nightmare and stuff like that. But every card surrounding Yubel, the dearest one is €4 each, and that's Spirit of Yubel. Every other card you can pick up for pennies, and it's a really fun deck that you can kind of get into.
For all my Sacred Beast enjoyers out there, a lot of the Yubel cards work well with Sacred Beast because they all revolve around 0 attack fiends, which is what the Sacred Beast archetype revolves around. There's even a new Phantasmal Summoning Beast coming out, which helps you go into your Sacred Beast very easily. This is also very cheap, but also only for Sacred Beast enjoyers. Next up, Raid Raptors got some very strong support, a new rank 13 monster, and some good main deck monsters and some rank up spells. Raid Raptors definitely got like a giant boost here, especially with one of the new staples from this set, Swallow's Kerry. So Raid Raptors are definitely looking to be a decently strong combo deck coming up. They do a lot of new things. Their new rank 13 is actually very, very strong. It definitely like raises Raid Raptors up to a more playable state. You might see this deck achieving some results, which would be very cool, because Raid Raptors are a fan favorite. It's about time they saw some success.
I definitely think if you were going to invest in Raid Raptor stuff, maybe invest in it now, just because I can definitely see the Raid Raptor stuff going up in the future when people really realize how you can unlock its full potential.
Next up for Magispectors, we have a good bit of new support. Magispectors have a lot of potential, especially if Kieran gets unbanned, which it's looking like it might get unbanned soon. Fingers crossed, because one of the new support cards can summon it, but you know, it's not legal right now. The cards are very cheap. The most expensive card is the new Link monster. It's only about €2. Definitely invest in this if you're a Magispector enjoyer. There's some new Horus support. They have a new main deck monster and a very good spell that acts as the Pharaoh Sarcophagus while on the field. So basically it adds a lot of consistency to the deck. They're fairly cheap. If you're playing Horus already, you're not going to be shy of spending a good bit of money, but even pick up these now as budget players because having a small Horus engine doesn't hurt. Next up is new fish support. So Goatee got 2 new support cards, and also there is new white fish support. They basically go hand in hand. Both Goatee and the white fish are synchro strategies that revolve around fish monsters. The new white support has a lot of potential. There are a lot of really good cards. It turns it into a decent combo deck. I'm not sure if Goatee will work well with the deck, but for those who play Goatee, these are some cards to pick up. There's been a lot of new aroma support. All of the aroma support here is basically good in any plant deck. So anyone who plays Regus and Avalon is going to have a big boost from the aroma cards. Also makes the pure deck very playable. Every card in this deck is pennies. Definitely pick it up if you have any interest in plant decks, because this is going to be very helpful for basically every plant deck in the game. Earthbound Immortals got 1 new card, Earthbound Fusion. A very good quick play fusion spell, also has some really good graveyard effects. Definitely a good card to pick up if you invested in the Earthbound cards from the new Maze set. And finally, for the new support, we have Gate Guardian support, we have the Dark Guardian, and we have Prince of Pug, which is the strangest support for an archetype, because you wouldn't expect this card to be Gate Guardian support, but it is. If you're a Gate Guardian enjoyer, consider these cards because they're very cheap and they definitely help the deck. Finally, if you want to pick up some generic good staples from this set, there's a good few to choose from. The best one from this set is definitely the Black Goat Laughs. This could be a very good staple in a lot of decks, especially trap decks. You can declare a monster card name and then your opponent can summon that monster for the rest of the turn. You can also banish it from your graveyard, declare a monster card name, and your opponent cannot activate that monster's effect for the rest of the turn. So definitely a very strong new trap card that a lot of decks can take advantage of.
Yeah, I definitely see this becoming more of a side deck option, especially now with the other trap card. Transaction Rollback can take advantage of this as well. I definitely think it's something worth investing in. Definitely these cards that can be used in any deck is definitely worth investing in on release, just because they do tend to go up after a while. So a card like this that is definitely going to be a mainstay in a couple side decks going forward in this format, I definitely think it's worth the investment, especially when we're entering tier 0 formats where we basically know what our opponents are playing all the time. So definitely invest in this while you can.
For a new Synchro 8, we have Enigmaster Packbit, a generic Synchro 8 that can place one of your opponent's monsters in the spell and trap card zone. A very popular method of removal these days. Similar to Snake Eye cards, putting your opponent's monsters in the back row is a very strong form of removal because they won't get any graveyard effects. They'll also take up a back row spot if that matters. It's a very good generic Synchro 8 that you should definitely pick up a few copies, because you never know what deck you might have that could make use of it. As mentioned before, Swallow's Kerry is very good for any Winged Beast deck. You tribute a Winged Beast and you add a Winged Beast monster from your deck with the same level from your deck to your hand. So obviously very good in Raid Raptors, but also very good in decks like Lyrilusk and other Winged Beast decks. So definitely a good card to pick up, because in the future, if a Winged Beast deck becomes meta, it's definitely good to have these cards. Mutant Morphosis is the new and improved Metamorphosis. So you tribute a fusion or synchro monster, and then you special summon one monster with the same level from your deck, and then you return it to your hand during the end phase. If you're using this in Runic, you can special summon any level 2 from your deck. And adding the card back to your hand is very good, because if you special summon a hand trap, you can just add it to your hand and then you can have a hand trap for your next turn. I'd say definitely pick this card up now. Right now it's at €4. It will definitely go up if it sees play. It's very versatile, it has a lot of potential, very much like Duality in that way, where you can just summon some very unique monsters. So definitely consider investing in this card. Next up we have EMP Meow Mine, basically support for your IP Masquerena and your SP Little Knight. Basically when any Link 2 monster leaves the field or is banished, you can banish this card from the graveyard and you can bounce a card your opponent controls. A bit overkill if you have cards like IP or SP on the field, but in other decks it could definitely find room, so I think investing in this card now is not a bad option.
If you're playing decks that don't run a big engine in itself and you actually invested money into SP Little Knight and IP Masquerena, this can be really good because it can be a good extension of interruption rather than just focusing on your main engine itself.
Next up we have Iron Thunder. It's a counter trap that negates a monster spell or trap effect, and after that it destroys all cards in that column. So as like a Solemn Judgment type of card, it's very strong, and the additional benefit of being able to destroy your opponent's back row or monsters in that column is insanely good. Monster zones and columns have become very important with links and all that, so this is definitely a card that will see play, it will see use, and definitely something to invest in while it's cheap. And finally we have Psychic Processor. You can banish this card from the field to special summon up to 2 Machine, Psychic or Cyberse monsters from your hand. Very specific, but if a Machine, Psychic or Cyberse deck ever becomes meta, this card will be very good. Off the top of my head, it's very good in Time Thieves, which is a very base deck. It could see a lot of play in other decks, maybe Virtual World because they run a lot of Psychics. Technically it's generic Cyber support, so definitely a card to look into because it has a lot of potential. So that's it for the cards we think you should buy from Phantom Nightmare. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you have any suggestions for cards that you should buy, leave them down below, let other people see, and let us know if you want to see more videos like this in the future.